One of my sources, you always have a lot of it was farming, a lot of it was holding
Okay, dinner break is over. Whatever. So you can see that Harry does live and breathe his work, to say the least. So, I'd like you to close your laptops and focus on me, or at least what's on the screen. You don't have to look at me. So I just want to go through and follow up his talk with what I call the components of the deal analysis from the market perspective. Of course, I always put this up on Blackboard, like I put the other presentations up on Blackboard as well. And then we'll get into our case studies. And so some of this is really important. It's really interesting. And I'm following up Harry on this deliberately, because what he did like most developers, he thinks he understands everything. And he, in this particular case, did understand everything. But I must caution you that in most cases, you absolutely must get this separate market study, because the bank, the lenders, and the equity demands it. This was an unusual case where he got it and understood it separately. And that factor, those factors are critical for doing this feasibility analysis. I can assure you that when he put that loan proposal together, remember, I just isolated 6 or 7 pages. He had a full 30-page study that was critical for the bank, for them to underwrite the deal. So don't let him, lead you astray thinking, oh, I could just put a few of these pages together. For TD Bank, he had that 30-plus year relationship with TD Bank, okay, to do the deal, but he still had to underwrite the deal totally. And doing that, this is my way of always doing a deal. I always look at the market generally, I look at the marketability of the site, and then you do the financial feasibility on the deal. I don't know why my slide doesn't go in all the way, so I'm going to put these all together. So, no different than any other site, you evaluate the competitive position. He did not do the full demographic analysis, but you must. I did it. And so, for example, I'm going to use the example of the site that I'm working on in the Midwest. I just completed, I did an interim report, 35-page report that I just wrote over the last 5 days. It's not hard to write. You know what to write. Doing the entire economic and demographic analysis for that property in the Midwest, in Missouri. Looking at all those variables, and then looking at the market supply and demand. And by the way, he's not worried about the supply because there's not much supply. But he's just lucky in looking at this. So I'm going to put this up because these are the things that you as a developer have to do. And by the way, even for one house, he was really smart about it. So which neighborhood is that? Where's the Golden Triangle in Boca located?
5th Avenue,
right.
North of Palmetto. Adam Sandler's got a house there, which is a huge estate. So everybody bought on the opposite side of the road, which is 5th Avenue. And they used to be, 10 years ago in 2000, before the recession, the houses used to run 140,000, 170. You can't buy a piece of land there today for less than 700,000.
Sure.
It's a fair now. And
then it goes up over to the Intercoastal.
Most of them no, because like I said, the Intercoastal is that stretch where Adam Sandler is.
Oh, that's right, that's right, that's right. And so even if you were just a single investor or developer, and I have a number of colleagues who literally do this on individual homes, they do the same kind of analysis. They just may not do it in the most formal way. And what key for him was absorption pace for in this case, for sales. And he's ahead of his absorption pace, which I think is unusual in a market that doesn't have that actual support for it. And by the way, he did not put into his pro forma any change in pricing, which I thought was interesting. So I'm going to be interested in seeing what you have. By the way, there's a lot of product. He was understating the product in the marketplace. Broward, still a couple thousand homes. He's got direct competition. You saw that list there. And so I know he's a builder, folks. I think he's got real competition out there for his product.
I don't think you need to underestimate the demographics part of it. When he said he's going to companies, you call any day of the week, and he's boots on the ground. He's walking, he's touring his head, like he really puts some time on the ground.
Well, and so every time, there's no question, you've got to shop the other projects every day. Do you, by the way, you as an architect, do you actually shop the other projects to see what is being built?
Not as much as I like to, but yes, I love to because you do
really,
see the difference and you see the value in the value.
Right, that's right. And one thing that he's done is look at the direction of growth and his competitors as well. So, you know, I keep putting up, evaluating these sources and uses of funds and looking at financing and funding. And one thing that I do with all of my projections is I look ahead for the next 5 years. And you can look at the marketplace and understand that. And so once again, I'm just going to put this up and figure out the supply and figure out equilibrium between that. Remember I gave you this sheet of doing market share and capture rates? How many of you completed your capture rate analysis for Thor Windward? No? You haven't? Yeah. You got my email yesterday. You've got an outline for me tonight, right? Your groups? No. One group does? No? No?
You said you sent it last night.
I sent it yesterday.
Yesterday.
This just went like that. You do have Nova email on your phones, don't you?
What's that?
Huh?
We did get it, by the way.
No, we'll be good.
Let's see. All inboxes. Brookwood Group, that's my company. VIP, for people who I think are VIPs, of which I have like one person. Then I've got my Nova email, Miami email, NYU email. Gee, I got them all there. It's really easy to see that stuff. I don't know how you miss my emails. You shouldn't be missing them, right? So we're going to have that meeting. We only have 3 weeks to your presentations, folks. So I just thought I'd just put that up there. Okay. So does anybody have any conclusions and recommendations on your Thor Windward yet? No? No? Yes? I don't hear any yeses. Okay, I'm just going to skip right through this. I'm not even going to worry about this right now on what you build. Okay. So no need for me to talk about this. You don't have answers yet. So I'll just put this up and maybe you'll look at this and we'll have a discussion about it. And the key is to make sure that you have all of this information for Thor Windward. This is not only applies to Harry's project, but you're using your markets as an analysis tool and decision-making tool to confirm not only the zoning, but that you have a viable deal. By the way, today's the 15th. Today is the day when Troy is supposed to get all of his first bids on Thor Windward. Did he get yours? No? Gosh, what am I missing? Okay. All right. So I'm serious. Once again, this will go up probably tomorrow morning. Look at all these points and make sure that you're covering. This is just another expanded way for me to help you with your outline of making decisions and making sure that you've got that information up there so you can do your pro forma for your deal. But here, let's do something else. I want to go over the New York Times deal with everybody. Again. Oh, I'm going to hand you back your Pinckney Street studies, by the way. You did much better on that than you did on New York Times. keep moving your seat. I can't figure out where you're sitting. So, why do you think you did better in your Pinckney Street study than you did on your New York Times studies? Any guesses?
Because we did the wrong one.
Well, yes, for you two, you're right, because you didn't get the study, so you basically have an incomplete, and I'll look forward to you when you can submit an actual. Yeah, you can actually submit that, or else you get no grade whatsoever, and that's not good at all. I don't think. And so the reason why I'm handing back these items because I want to really review how you write and what you do. You can do better. You know, there's a reason why I put a format in there. It's because, you know, if you've got someone who says, just like Harry, he's got a format there. And it's all the way in the corner over here. Now I'm going to hand out your New York Times. We're going to look at this stuff together. I don't have many comments in the back end. I just have it inside. Let's see. So, not as good. And those of you who did better, I said, I just gave your name. Okay, what's everyone? The key here is what I'm looking for is a narrative that leads you to your financials. You an opportunity to do something to complete that too, but you just never got around to it, right? You get to use the format. I mean, you know you can do better than that too. Mr. Riley, I hope it's interesting. What are you looking at there? So, what's really good is a lot of you know how to write, and that's important. But if you don't know how to present numbers, I think it's really important to figure out why.
Professor, did you forget? Pardon me. Do you have mine?
Do I somewhere
Yeah.
have it? Or maybe I gave it to somebody else. I should have it somewhere. I know I graded it somewhere. Want me to tell you what you did? I don't know, where is it? Oh God.
It's okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Did I hand Alex's to somebody else? Did I give her that and have it sent to her?
It's okay.
It's
I'll follow up.
somewhere. Did I didn't give Alex's to someone else?
No.
Shake it. Okay. I made a copy of whatever I did, so I'll look for
Yes, we can.
it there. So what I wanted to make sure you did was, once again, the reason why I put this in front of you all is because you are a reporter. First and foremost, you want to report the facts. And that's why I want background and decisions. I want background and information. And those of you who don't even write the background, Antoine's not here. So I guess I can riff on him just a little bit. He had a real interesting approach to analysis, but I couldn't figure out what was going on because it was just a run-up. And I'm being serious about it. So, you know, if someone says, I want to know what's the situation in the background for your case study, tell me. Don't just, like, dive into it. Set the stage. This has got to be a standalone on its own, folks. I want you to be able to get out there in the real world when someone tells me, oh, I've got this great investment deal and an opportunity. Tell me about it, and then you kind of say, well, here's the answer to the question. I don't know if I posed the question to you yet. And so, and I'm not picking on people, but okay, you got a problem and diagnosis, okay, but you haven't set the stage for the deal. And so if you've got a client or an investor with you, they'll say what? So for example, I had an hour-long conference call with my clients today. One's in New York, one was in Colorado, Another was, actually I don't know where the other one was, but it was a disembodied voice. I knew who he was. And so myself and my colleague who's in California, we basically took them through our interim report, but we set up the call deliberately with set the situation, the background and the situation, and then we went to our findings and conclusions. There's a method to our madness, and then we hit immediately to our recommendations. We actually had a nifty little chart. I drew a bubble diagram of the property. I'm not an artist. I'm an architect, but not an artist. There's a difference. Okay? I did a bubble diagram, and they seized upon it because I set the stage. And then we went through, by the way, we didn't have to go through the 30-page report. We just said, read it, come back with questions. It's an interim report. I got to deliver the final in 9 or 10 days. They were thrilled. Why? Because we set the stage. But if I can't see how you set the stage on your case study, I'm not going to get to the answers. And so, for us on this, we're trying to determine what the facts were, and so it looks like I'm asking for repetition. You're darn right. I want you to set the stage again for me, because I'm the independent reviewer, or I'm your ING, a Clarion guy who's saying, should I invest in this deal? And so you all started off better on Pinckney Street because I think you felt more comfortable because it was a deal that you could relate to. Really. And then on this, you kind of went, I don't know. It got complex, but remember, and I know Dustin and Chelsea, you kind of like, wait, was you, who broke down? Yeah, that's right. I know you weren't here, so you didn't have the advantage of the conversation. You're going to get a little bit of it. And so the challenge was, this was a simple deal. I know I said that last week, and I'm going to repeat it again. It was really a simple deal, and the key for you was to strip away what looked like the complexity to the deal. And the case study that you're going to do next week, by the way, we have, you're going to miss a good case study, Rosie. Don't go to club.
I'm contemplating.
Actually, we have a guest lecturer next week. Howard Steinholtz is coming. He's got the urban group. He's going to talk about a public-private partnership in public works. And he has a job that he can offer people. And then we're going to do the Steel Street case study. So this was complex, but your job was to say what was the simple part of it. And yes, if you could figure out the deal components, then you could get to the key parts. And your job was translation. Sometimes it's taking Klingon and putting it into English. I don't know what it is. Here it's taking all that real estate gobbledygook and translating it into something that you and I can understand. And all I want to know what the findings and conclusions are. Sometimes if you can get that much, then the recommendations can become clearer. And I'm not grading you actually on your recommendations. I'm actually grading you on getting to them. Because I don't, and so I didn't knock anybody down because they came up with $60 million in NOI. I mean, I did say, wow, you know, an 800% return. Wait, was that you who said that? No, who said 800%? Yeah, well, that was you. Okay, fine. You know, wow. Okay. Well, hopefully you'll get the math better. But see, I'm serious about following your methodology, okay? And then, in this particular case, a lot of you got the deal and the capital side confused because you didn't follow it and express it properly in writing because all we cared about was the Forest City side of the deal. And some of you started talking about the New York Times. We didn't care about the New York Times. All we cared about was the Forest City Ratner side of the deal. And if you could do that, and I don't know why my thing's not coming in the right order, but that's just my PowerPoint, then you can evaluate those issues. So let's just review this again, just to make sure everybody understands. Yes, it was complex figuring out the zoning, but guess what? It turns out the city, ultimately their authority was usurped by the state. and the Empire State Development Corporation.
Is that the reason that they were able to get the extra density? And
Yeah.
But it doesn't explain any of that. Like there was
It
a lot of
doesn't,
gaps.
that's
in the-
right. But you know what? So Rosie went the extra mile, and she said, oh, yeah, and she starts looking at all these density things and stuff. It wasn't meant to be a trick, but it was basically for you to say, why? You know what? I can't figure out why it is. And so if you at least ask the question, it doesn't make sense. And for some reason, I just wanted people to get to the edge and go to why would it be the case. Other than, you know, as I joked last time, that, you know, it's New York City and you can go 6 inches outside the glass. You can because they don't follow Beaumont or anything like that. And then remember, all we cared about was those floors that were not the New York Times floors, because it was a condominium. And then, yes, we wanted to figure out their exit price. And so a number of you came to, you didn't follow the question. You gave me an NOI, but you didn't give me a price. And then when you gave me a price, you didn't calculate the IRR. Because it was pretty simple. It was just a 3-year IRR return statement. It wasn't a complicated 10-year deal. Now you have an opportunity for something. Right? Did you finally download the right case study?
Yeah, I got it.
Good. Okay, so look at all this stuff. My goodness. And all we cared about was this. 60% of the FC line. But you had to read through it, I know. And you're not attorneys, or maybe you are. And so part of the challenge is, boy, those real estate attorneys will grab you by the you-know-what's-this and will take you for a long run. You've got to get beyond it, okay? Or the planners, or the architects. And you heard what Harry said. You got to know a little bit about everything. It's funny, I was writing in my red pen up here. It's true. You've got to understand all the facets of the deal. I wanted to hear what his conclusion was. You know, whenever these guest speakers come up, I like to hear what their conclusions are. And so they put up this, and it was really interesting, you know. But ultimately, you as the investor, all you cared about was that part of the deal. Yeah.
What kind of IRR did you end up with for?
Oh, I'm going to show you again. Yeah, I know you kind of missed it, and if you looked at my Blackboard thing, you'll see it, but we'll get there again. So I'm going to repeat it again so everybody understands it, that how simple the deal really could be. Remember, so all right, we had this condominium and all that, but all we cared about was now getting tenants for the FC Lion part. And so, yes, it was a little complex. We had the condominium structure. I guess it's nice. We don't care. All we cared was the FC Lion office unit, right? That's right. And so we looked at factors that included, here's my same chart again. So if you did that, you could go through that analysis. We didn't have to do all that. They provided us this. So 735,000 square feet was the deal. So guess what? If you never figured out what the total square footage was, the number was still there. Well, you know, if you go to your boss at ING, I don't know why they did the total square footage in the space, but you know what? We just need to figure out what that space number is, right? But I wanted people to see if they got there. And then we were asking you to come up with the range. Now I chose 70 because I know that was the number. I went back into history. I actually researched the number and said, you know, go back, look at what Park Avenue was doing. That was the highest rent at the time. And then you discount it and look at the Times Square. And then I did my 5% off of that spread between ask and take, $67, 3% vacancy, the $9 estimate that's provided. But some of you were so aggressive. That's okay. I just wanted to know why. Yeah, what, you did what, 80 something?
I did 9, yeah, well, 81 adjusted for
for
the taking.
But
Because it was like asking and taking rent.
all right. I didn't din you on that, all right? And then it was just a matter of putting this simple pro forma together. And some of you didn't even do this. Some of you did. Those of you did, I gave you your A's or A minuses or whatever, okay? But that's really, this is it, the simple pro forma. And once you got this, you could do a cap rate on the income, right, folks? So these case studies that I've been giving you are actually kind of simple in their math. They're complex in their underlying case. And when you read Steel Street next week, it has a construction bent. It's focused on the, what do we do when I forget the names of the people in the Steel Street case study. I mean, they don't know how to deal with construction and architecture, and what do the architects do in the deal? Don't go to Columbia. And you'll have to figure that out. So each one of these case studies is different. And so here, I came to my 40 million. What was your number? I forget. It was 50 something. You were a little higher. Because you were more aggressive in the rent.
Yeah, it was a little more, 64 million.
Right. But once again, you didn't do, and so I'm not trying to pick out anybody, but you didn't build me the case for it. Okay? You didn't set the stage for it. All you got to do is set it, and then you have some credibility in doing it. All right? And so once we've got the numbers, then we can start forecasting our deal, right? We can justify things. So what did I do? I took my $40 million. This is the same information I showed you last week. And then we just have to choose that cap rate. And some of you said, oh, gee, it was between this, and here's why. And so I came up with 595 million. Some of you came up with all sorts of numbers. That's okay. But I wanted you to at least come up with numbers. Shouldn't I? And then once you had this number, then we could get to that wonderful debate some of us had in Development 1 about IRRs and NPVs and equity multiples that some of you forgot. Because I want returns on a deal. And sometimes I don't care about net present values, but I figured it's good to go back to that whole issue in net present values. I mean, we're trying to figure out whether it's worth investing in the deal. Remember the difference between net present value and IRR? Remember? It's the NPV solves for the value of that stream of cash flows given your discount rate. So if I want a return of X, then that's what my NPV would be. So, but what's it worth at that particular discount rate? But it's kind of like the flip side of what the internal rate of return is. So if my return when setting the NPV is equal to 0, that will tell me what the IRR is. By now, all of you should know what those numbers, what that formula should be. So, gee, what will my rate of return be given the stream of cash flows? So remember I set up this simple example, and all we're doing is we're just going to take a 3-year set of cash flows. And we're going to figure out IRR, and we're also going to look at equity multiples. Boy, wouldn't it be great to see what the equity multiple is in a deal like this? Remember, this is, what kind of real estate deal is this? I got 3 different kinds of deals. Remember? Core? It's a core deal? Why?
I'm sorry, it's ground up, right?
Ground up, which means it's opportunistic. It will become a core real estate investment deal once it's completed, built, stabilized, and sold off to that crazy-ass investment fund that wants this low yield, but safety. But this is, so I want to know what kind of return that opportunistic fund is. Now, someone wrote, well, ING, they're conservative and they're, really looking for safety and yield, low yields, and that may be, but this is a ground-up construction deal. So, this is just a way to compare equity multiples. Remember, you can change that. So, first of all, what kind of equity multiple do we want on a ground-up opportunistic construction deal?
2 up.
At least a 2 or greater. And so, now if you know that, just take my sale price, subtract the debt, look at my gross proceeds. Remember my partnership equity, they gave you that number, was $70 million. So look at my net proceeds, and we can figure out our return multiple. And if we're in the right range, and if we're not, then we can go back and adjust our cap rates or our rents and figure out, and if we're not, then we can say, oh, I don't want to invest it, right? So I'm looking at ING share, that's all I care about. This is the total deal. So remember, we're 60%, 3.89, whoa, that's a great first thing. My equity multiple, now I'm going to compare it to my IRR. Are you all with me? And if you do this, I mean, you can do this on a single family house and bulk of return.
I was trying to do Harry's, I don't get it.
Pardon?
I was trying to do Harry's, I don't get it.
It's not working? No? No? The math's pretty simple. What's not working?
No, I just said I was doing Harry's, because he said he had a 12.5 return. He's got a $10 million equity.
That's too low.
Looks like I won.
What would you like on this deal?
On Harry's? I don't know, I was just checking.
So look, I'm just saying there are different ways to measure deals like this. An equity multiple, which is like a in-your-face return. And then IRR, and everybody was right, hey, it's just a 3-year deal. Let's just get in and out. And then there was that little complication, that weird payment in lieu of taxes, there was admin fees, a little trip wire. And you know, frankly, if you didn't include that fee, it probably wouldn't change the cash flows too much. And the challenge is there's no real NOI here, just a whole bunch of, you know, expenses. But then you get the income and the sale value at the end of the deal. And once you get it, oh, well, how do I figure it out? Remember what our equity investment is, what are our proceeds? Now I've got an internal rate of return of that on my total deal. What's my IRR? Wow, 47%. Probably makes sense. And then if I just did ING share, it's about the same. And then I can always figure out net present values as an example of what my, maybe ING said I wanted to get a 25% return and my NPV is positive. I'll put all of this up. But see, this was simple, I think. You raise your eyebrows. I mean, it's straightforward. Maybe simple is the wrong word. And the challenge was getting to this and through all those words from the case study. And I know that was the complex part. And so your job is to really, like, read through this. God, you know, I'm looking at all this stuff. You know, I read these papers. And I mean, I immediately pick this up and say, the headline works. I've got a map here that's kind of telling me what's going on. Wow, they got it. And in a way, they set the stage for me to understand what happened in the election. And they didn't. That's what you got to do. I know it's kind of a weird way to set my example, but I figured this would be a good way to help say it. I mean, I'm just, you know, if I got to save those papers, which one would I do? Wall Street Journal. Because the reporting was excellent. I'm not a fan of the editorial page, but they did it right this time. So, 80%, 11%. This is what makes this such an interesting kind of deal.
Seems like a huge return for 3-year passive money.
Pardon?
That seems like a pretty large return for 3-year passive money from ING.
Well, you call it passive, but the truth is, I mean, this is a challenging time. The investment occurred right after, excuse me, the investment decision making occurred right after 9/11. Forrest City Ratner had never done this deal of this size, this complexity in Manhattan. Think of all those factors. And so, what about those risks? Wow.
And also there's still the risk of the debt, because they're not a true, like, limited partner.
That's right, they're not. There's just a huge thing there. So I'm not sure they're so passive. And so you're the analyst for that VP at ING. Maybe this is enough to pull you through that. I don't know. I mean, they made the deal, as it turns out. Now, is this how they went through that analysis? My guess is it's probably pretty much so. The numbers probably were pretty much like this. Now, Forest City Ratner made out handsomely on the deal as well. You know who has not made out well on the deal? Times. Because they, in fact, because just like them and Wall Street Journal and everybody else, because of the digital era, they've actually sold off part of their condominium interest to help support the newspaper, and they haven't done quite the same. And if we get to the 8 Spruce Street deal, which is another Forest City Ratner deal, we'll find out how to put that together. But that's like in week number 7. We get along. So I know I whipped through that in the last 23 minutes or so by the clock, or 25 minutes. Actually, no, it's about 30 minutes. But and of course, I got a few years of experience on you, but it's just, and the way that I get that is that I just keep reading. And the more you read these things, and you'll find your thing somewhere. I know I have this somewhere. That's why I'm having you read a case study every week. And you're going to say, oh, it's too much. No, it isn't. Because the more you read, the better you'll write. You all actually start, most of you start writing well. Then you kind of lose it. You're a good writer, but then you got to tie the dots and connect it to the financials. And some of you are afraid to put those numbers on the paper. Why? I actually do the opposite. I go to the numbers first, and then I craft my story for the narrative. But there's no one right or wrong way. And as I said, you saw those charts there, so for my deal today, actually went through all the numbers, and then I put the balloon diagram together, and then pulled it together for the clients because they could understand it. And then went back to the numbers. So, let's see, I don't know where I am. I have a bunch of other slides and things there. So, it was a big building. If you define the nature of the problem, that would get you far along. You had to understand where you and your interests were. Every deal, if you can figure out what your interests are, you're on top of it. You've got to take all those complicating issues and get rid of them. And of course, we had uncertain issues. We didn't know what the partnering structure was. They had to secure the equity debt, and then figure out where to go. So, am I going to have anything to review for anybody's for Windward or not? For your teams? You're giving me this like, no girls, no way, no. Well, I'm going to sit with your groups again because I want to know where you are, because I don't want to see that when you come to the last week that you have nothing to present. So put yourself in your groups, and I'm going to hear you out for a few minutes at least. And I'm going to now go on my computer and find your presentation.
I finished it's more than just photographs. Actually say photographs instead of requirements are. What we're allowed. I would like to share finding and I need to Dustin and I'm happy to dedicated privilege. But the thing is, I'm happy to
I've been through it.
You're down there, take photographs.
You're down
But
there,
I'm
or-
trying to find rentals.
And then go out and verify it on the market, and then actually, if we can, you know, and remove any things we don't think are promotional. Like, you know, you see kind of like, people like one end and kind of an outlier, we can just take it out. I'm just thinking about it this way, is like, let's say I go ahead and start paying in all these like rent costs, for example, it's no problem. Because they're the same.
Yeah, that's cool. Reporter on the streets.
Yeah, I think he was saying about, yeah, where he went.
It's I mean, it's really on the fringe and that's all transitional, so you're more likely to get, it's transient, you know. So rentals, I agree.
I feel like
I'm thinking as far as donate now.
So I feel like the first year, I didn't really get as much time in. But now I feel a lot better. I think that's yeah.
So that's gonna be my project, just getting the Google Drive together with you guys, and I'll get this started and design together. Demographics, so put together your numbers and zoning.
Well, you're marketing also rental.
Yes, I'm gonna have all of the real estate information. Yeah, I would say start on the demographics. I think once we actually kind of need a design, so you can estimate construction and stuff, right? We used to, okay, so maybe do that and then we can plug and play, get a little closer. You know, are there any right there? I haven't looked, to be really honest. Yeah, what I'm saying is what I was gonna put on the drum.
So do you want me to reset this vote or no? You're good, you have it. I'm sorry? The second and the third, you have it. Okay.
You give me a what? What? I'll answer.
You guys, there's like so many projects that are happening also.
Yeah.
And east of that, like Midtown, there's Edgewater, there's shit on buildings there.
I hope I have an answer.
There's so many projects going up there.
In other words, things that, you know, there's.
We had this discussion last week.
Yeah, no, but.
We had this discussion last week.
Pretty square, pretty.
But in terms
Alright,
of
we're
like.
gonna have it again.
That'd be nice to
In terms
do
of the
a
runway
pool with a
house,
recreation in the middle, instead of having
obviously
it on the
for,
roof, because
you
then you're not
know,
looking
with
all
the
that.
package has budget them already, and you mentioned, you know, we need to just, we can't just take everything from packaging at face value, we have to like verify it.
People
So
are
my
really
question is, can we,
that far out.
if the comps match up to what we're finding in the marketplace, can we use some of the same information if it makes sense to use?
Where?
Okay, I have a map. Some of the stuff.
Like shopping, strip mall.
When would your copies down?
So we're looking at stuff. I mean, I find
Like literally one of the back of the used to plug in $0 into the account.
there's people over here.
And it's new, it's 6,000 feet or whatever they
Expected,
They'd be
yeah.
looking for
So
$0.
we just for the market is gonna be percentage on the area. But I mean, obviously, I don't know the numbers yet. But I think they wanna expand their search. As far as comparable material, none of this left is comparable.
I guess what we're
So expand and justify. Tell us why.
Right.
And then make a
cogent
cogent
I'll look at that, and then I'm
argument.
gonna do, as part of my market analysis, I'm gonna do a pipeline analysis also, so we'll see what's
Comparable
on.
to the area.
Really
And
good
I'd
work.
rather,
So then find the
Yeah,
area.
this, there's a lot
Find
going
the
into
area
it,
that's
it's just.
comparable. And then justify it on that basis. Find something else in another area that will.
Why don't we just say, let's have everything in a Google Drive by this weekend? And then like Sunday I'll spend the afternoon working on it.
We're trying to see from a numbers standpoint.
It's your birthday weekend
To
too,
compare
so
what's there in the package.
I'm being understanding.
Versus going out and finding out.
Good for you, I would tell them everything I want to make
Different and retail.
Alright, so the comp doesn't have to have all those three in the same, you just have to
It
on the
was
survey,
like a week
I
ago,
can
she was
make
out of town though,
it.
so.
for the hotel, retail, and the apartment, and then use them for your mix. I mean, the comp, the other comps don't all have to have the same mix of uses.
Very appropriate comps.
Sort of like this past weekend where we.
Oh,
I should go back and tell the 18.
That's
The
right.
unit,
Usually now, right?
square footage.
That's right.
Yeah.
So do not look for an identical comp for your mix. Look for the identical comp for your uses, and then apply that for what goes into your mix. Does that make sense?
It does, but is it bad if we use something packaging that?
Yes, you can use them, but are they appropriate? Are they all right? Why? Just because they put it in a package, I want justification, I want support, I want you, I mean, that's the broker offering.
Right, which
Sorry,
are sometimes can be, and
Yeah.
I know this all too well, and I know this all too well, some are too promotional and, you know, others.
That's right.
Others may be exactly what you're looking for.
That's right.
Oftentimes there is some good comps in there that, you know, you'll find
Your job is to
independently as well.
do a reasoned analysis of those comps, and then find the ones that really support what you want.
So,
being able to narrow that to the first.
Exactly. Exactly. We're trying to get to the
And that's the
numbers.
struggle that, and by the way, everybody else already handed in their bids at 5 o'clock this evening. Where's yours? I know, you didn't have the same deadline. Yeah, thank you.
Every wall has a mural.
No,
that's what it is.
You're going to a private too, but area where nobody's done it. So you're the first one. You haven't seen his low water, the water was. I mean, otherwise you're not.
There's still some out, but those are
Yes.
gonna be gone.
And
At night, that's like a very happy spot. Traffic everywhere. Bars, restaurants.
Because we thought these was more appropriate or
tell me. Why, I can't make that decision for you.
But it wasn't like pain.
It was probably weekday.
How's this different from the New York Times case study? You've got to make a reasoned judgment.
But at the same time, like.
I've been there during the day and.
What? I would
There's
like you
there's
to
also
write,
businesses that
what
have
did Troy
businesses
tell
there.
you?
It's a little bit, like the restaurant
Yeah, but at night,
Right,
Yeah, before I-
and your particular focus was, because he gave each group a different angle to the deal.
I'm just doing
you went there what, like on a Friday or Saturday?
Now we can do this. And you're competing to do it in the best, if not maximum possible way.
I'm a fan.
Pardon? Oh, it is? Is this for me or should I just take a picture of it?
You know what the solution is?
The murals happening now. Okay.
Tomorrow you'll be able to figure out.
Tomorrow,
So
yeah.
I think
We'll be able to say what we're doing. So,
I spent 5 hours on it.
Well,
I'll just resend it.
I need some
Never
directions I
resend.
can pull.
Thank you.
But if they don't match that.
I finished basically the best things that you could do, and next we're integrating county zoning, data work done. We're also already started the real estate market now. He's doing the graphic. I didn't know I had to bring it tonight, I'm sorry. I didn't print it, I came out,
So what I'll
so,
do is he made a good point. It's like,
yeah.
No, I didn't ask. I probably the outline of what you've done, so it was appropriate.
so
I email you the outline, but we are sharing stuff on a Google Drive.
Exactly.
So that's gonna work a lot.
Did we do a scratch out?
We did, I was like, it's on my email.
and then from there, I'll be able to, I'll be able that's my game plan for tomorrow. What's y'all game plan for tomorrow?
Nancy, just the empty lot. For-
It's a combination.
Yeah, what's
Yeah,
that?
but it's gonna be.
permits. I mean, hotel and apartments.
Yeah, right, and so it's gonna be a
I
mix of
agree
everything.
with you, with the structure, I walked the site
Yes.
and I looked on the surroundings,
Yes.
and it makes sense.
We're working on comps, and we were just talking about a conceptual design of updated. It was your idea, if you'd like to elaborate for your. Unless there's.
On the other buyers, yeah. Troy said he'd take my personal check, no problem.
Just how the building's like.
Something modern by the.
The first one, it showed. No, that's perfect for you. So that looks perfect for our service. No, that was This is what I was thinking was good for 29th Street. Anybody else?
Yeah.
You know, I can watch it. But I feel like I'm gonna prefer guys with hours work on it, not just theoretically.
Yeah, exactly. So we basically have
Well, that corner, is this corner?
No, this is the main part. Here we go, this is what I'm showing you. 29th Street. So I was thinking this, because all of this right here, when I drove this right here is all facing a main street that they're saying is 20,000 foot traffic or car traffic. This is the main foot. Everyone's gonna walk. I say no.
Do you do that one more time?
It'll draw people to the area, but it's across from this.
what about you're so it's a required you're just getting having a required retail space and we're still like trying to figure that out.
But why would you want something?
So maybe we were talking about some sort of like cafe area going towards it. I was like,
But this side, facing the street is the most attractive. It's the one that is south. In fact, I went to the ICS.
we had kind of talked about how last sprint.
One of the things they brought
Yeah.
where they bring a
Well, I think
bunch
that
of,
part of the issue is
not
when
really
you have
mom
a
and pop, but local
new,
vendors as well as
very dense
chain
driveway
owners
project.
together. Exactly, and they
Retail
bring them
about
together.
400
This is a
in one area.
great concept of cool golf.
Only
Because
people
it's
in the
kind of
building
like
maybe really use
there
people on a
and being
consistent
able to
basis.
look out across the
So
street.
there's not like all lunch afternoon crowd, there's not, a whole lot of dinner activity there.
But it's higher
People
up.
want to see the action.
Like,
I'm thinking it's higher up and you can actually see the city though, that's what I'm trying to say.
Because there's gonna be
We have to agree on that.
well, you're talking about being exposed.
Yeah. And I'll show everybody my city. I love the look, but please don't use that for statement. I thought I took a picture of 29th Street. Did you take a picture? I need to look in your folder. Did you actually take a picture of what 29th Street looks like?
Did they say anything that's
I'm just thinking out loud.
contradict?
I'm sure I'll figure it.
Let me check and see. Let me check and see. Let me check and see.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I could use traffic assistance, that would be financial well, that could be used a little bit.
What's the next one? You want me to like take everything that you're that was that you're right? Let me look for it and try to find it.
Well, that one, I
I
think,
usually
is
just like
partly
so
just
this is
by my choice.
this is not
Yes, I do, yes, I do.
I want to know about it. Around the street. Yeah, but let's explain it.
Yeah, because the
I
other.
mean,
But I
essentially,
need more in the sense of how do you model that?
I think because
Because I've been able to do it regardless.
this is actually, I get
But I'm
because
not
my mom they
built one from scratch that I
so
could
if she has a problem with that, I can go with my brother. I can ask him, yes.
and I understand them with you.
All right.
If you use something like, like use example,
Well,
but
it's also like what I was asking
and
about
then you
today,
can sort of follow that.
that's timing of when the funds get released.
Or the other one, right, that's what I'm saying, the one that you uploaded, or the one that I uploaded that we did, like 6 months ago. And just sort of follow that structure in terms of like, you know, table of contents, and we'll fill in all the information for each section, but just in terms of like designing the actual presentation, because that's gonna have to be done at some point, PowerPoint and, and just like section titles, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that they talk to people and oh, I have it, yeah. I mean,
And that way, if you were submitting
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Troy and Robert, they don't care.
we all did, and then we pieced it
If we
together.
wanted to use our just to do
And
our
then
financial
they
on
are
our time, we can do that.
That's another question.
Well, the only problem is that for the first developer, we're already through the first half of the class. So once you do the first half, they take the license away. For the developers, not only enterprise going forward, yeah, so I can't even use it.
I mean,
They won't do
you
it,
go
yeah.
there, it's just like a.
You can export that into an Excel.
Well, that's what's actually required.
Oh, this was the actual template.
On Tuesdays, like, was it like happy hour? Like, double area, it's starting to get like a really packed.
Then he responds to it, I guess it's
See, fourth of your
Antoine.
Where is he?
Yeah, if you still have this file.
MIA?
It's awesome because like, there's so much activity that goes on around there, you know?
It's okay, we'll get the
You're
project
right.
done no matter what.
You're close to,
Like,
you're close to
how
like,
it's just like different
All
sections,
that's
like
for you to help manage and.
all the information will have to obviously have to take that.
I mean, I would love to live there.
But just in terms of like setting up.
Thank you.
Title on there, title pages.
Hello?
Alright, you guys will get the link.
Sorry, you need to be chewing trees.
You'll get the link to the Google.
I just have one. Let's see, it's the, okay, it's blue bag. Blue bag, oh, value bag. Alright.
Setbacks, help me rectify like,
Alright, you got an outline for me?
maximum,
Everything
buildable
that's
square
done, you're on your way
footage, that can help me base it obviously.
Yeah, they are.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
I'll think about it, I'm sure I'll probably just spend my night myself.
Really like 20.
Hey, that'd be cool, great. Nothing stopped about it, right?
Just need anything from us right now other than what
Yeah, what's already, whatever's gonna be on the shirt.
it will. And that's okay, we give an outline of who did what at the end, so I'm not worried. Alright, if you guys have concerns, you know how to reach me, I'm a phone call away.
And then what do we
Alright, that's all you have so far?
Well, still, yes, responsiveness is important.
Well, I mean, actually, some of the site.
Oh, that's good.
And manage and adjust it.
No problem, I will not take offense if you, like, you know, take a minute to have a life and call me later. That's okay, if it's urgent, I'll reach out to you, I'm not gonna be concerned about it. Alright, thank you guys.
Yeah, that's right. We need to organize the whole database. And we need anything else there. Yeah, all the.
And
then the business is saying that.
You sure we can, it's not mine?
Your scenario was.
The one I saw.
No, right, okay.
Yeah.
So
Well, we
they
didn't even know who they were, remember? I was like, here, look at entry search tape on it. I was like, oh, I thought this was yours.
No, actually you were offering.
Yeah, she was like, oh, thank you. I was like,
So,
oh.
but have you come up with your mix then?
That folder says.
In your hourly,
That's what we're working on, the mix. You mean the distribution between square footage?
Right, and all of that.
Okay.
An hour?
Yeah, this time it's an hour. Rush hour, it's almost 2. An hour is
Well, that's
very
a mix,
important.
right?
Yeah, wait, are you the financial guy? I don't know, I'm just kind of looking at you, I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I was planning on.
I think this is something that's under construction.
No, let's we're just, we're gonna go ahead and then define the ones that we're gonna go with.
Yeah, tomorrow's a done deal.
Yeah, but how did you know you have everything for you? Don't know which ones are even
I don't care. Well,
Which ones are comparable? What do you mean?
That's what I'm.
I'm asking you, what do you mean, which ones are?
So you've got to confirm it, you've got to reaffirm it,
No, I
you've got to
just did it
justify it. Do
by
the numbers
map.
make sense? Do
These
the
are the
uses
ones that
make
are on the
sense?
map.
Do the comps make sense?
Map,
Where's the support for it?
I did not
Does
include
any
any
of
of
this
this, so these
make
are
sense?
the ones
oh,
that
no,
are.
Just
Rosie,
like-
well,
so
if
put
we
in your
don't
bid
have
Where did
it
you get
compare,
this
we will get
in your
something
response
on the
was
market.
in
Compare
that
it.
Yeah, but we should start
What I'm
with the
saying is
ones
that
that are
actually
there.
being
Are
open
the
for
ones
winter
that are
due
there.
at
So
5
those
o'clock
are the
this
ones that are
afternoon
there. So I'm
in
saying-
real
Oh, so
When
you
you
put
look
those
at-
on the map?
And so
You put
you're
those on the
basically
map
saying,
from the
okay,
If the
what
rental
is
rates
my
are somewhere,
bid?
then
You're
they're
here to
more
create
comparable.
Oh, that's the
right?
actual document, okay,
What
okay.
is the value of
That's-
this?
that's really the way that
You're gonna do it
The
based
research that I
on
went in the
permitted
online.
side of the property.
Okay.
These are the
And we can
addresses
see
that
that
are right
over
there.
this,
and
you're
I
gonna
went
want
to
to
research
Where did
those.
you get the addresses
And
from? That's
yes,
what I'm
we
trying to
see
find out.
what has been
Online.
permitted.
You just went online and just looked?
We didn't put it in
roll
the
rentals,
map.
maybe.
Okay.
You roll rentals on Google.
Outline and say,
Greenwood.
here's
Yeah,
why you
Greenwood
think it is
rentals.
that,
Greenwood
or you may say,
town.
no, it isn't, and we're adjusting it accordingly.
We're not doing any retail, but in retail, it's very geographic. Anything
Right.
very close by to the property.
Well,
And you
yeah,
want
we
it's
want
like
to
a
see it.
national.
I want to see it.
Right.
Then you can go to different states and compare rents.
Right, it's like right
But
there.
these are not actual tenants. So it has to be.
That's good enough
So
information for the rental.
for sale comps,
Well, but
Yes, how do I see
here's the
capture
thing, like, this, I think
analysis?
this is under
Where's
construction,
that
this is a project, I
justifying?
don't think
Look
this
at the
is-
pipeline
this isn't
for
used
everything.
yet.
We don't know.
I get what you're saying, it's projected, it's not
You're going
existing.
to put this many units in this site. That's the demand.
So what you're saying is it's existing.
Is the equilibrium appropriate for this site? I mean, how many
When did
units
you,
supply
when
are
you
there
did
in
the
the market?
search, that name showed up just because
Do we know that?
it was, or how
What
did
is
you
the
find
pipeline?
about that one
You
specifically?
don't know
The
that.
address,
I haven't seen it.
we
Right.
go check the address
And
in
is
the
the
map.
demand out there?
That's
Have you
right
looked at
here.
demand?
No, no, but
Take
how
that
did you
simple,
know about this
you know, that spreadsheet,
Because
and look at it.
I
You've got the
searched
data.
rentals?
Look at your demographics now.
in
You
the
have the
apartment.
demographics
Greenwood.
for
Mm.
people who can rent
Okay, you
or
went to
buy
Greenwood
in
and
this
then
particular neighborhood. You've got a lot of research you can do.
This is right there, this is
Don't
in the
believe
corner,
just
this is
because
very
they say the
comparable
numbers
to
are
us.
right.
This is
I
in
want
the
to see the
very
support
corner.
that will
So
demonstrate
there
that
is
it's right.
true, I'm concerned
And
when
if
I
it
see
isn't,
this
you're gonna
values.
justify
That's
it.
low.
and
I'm
for the
very,
range,
I'm
it's a
very
big range.
concerned.
Do the
So how do
research,
we
And
take
make
a
this
range?
is
it
right
credible.
there.
Don't just simply
So,
say,
what
ah,
is it?
they gave me a great comfort package, and I think it's worth $23.75 million, and here's
We
why.
hit the low, we hit the high.
No, we wanna go with the, kind of.
You've got to do the full comprehensive financial,
Now,
physical,
this is
and
in
detailed
front,
analysis
all of
to
them
get you there.
are
You don't have periods.
At least we can say, why not?
And you've got the outline for it,
Even
now
if
let's
it's a
see
range for each one,
something for it.
that's how people do it.
Just because they
These
handed
call my
you on the
attention
silver platter
because it's
doesn't
what I
mean,
think
doesn't
the
mean it's
project
valid.
should be.
Just when we did Owen, we had that
One
one called
bedroom,
Beach Deal.
Yeah.
maybe 500.
We
Yeah,
went
that's
through all those
right.
numbers to make sure it made sense.
But
And we did our own analysis, we're adjusting
there's
accordingly.
a happy building on the other side. And at least I know this, at least I know this is for real, this is there.
2,900.
So it's a matter of calling, seeing what their
And also,
You're looking at,
vacancy is.
we should be,
and also, we.
Well,
we
once
also-
we iron it down, we'll be able to do.
I know you've got
We also
you've got
talk
to adjust
about
the
going into
This-
commercial west
market
partners.
in your analysis.
As a secondary.
This is building.
Oh, I don't know.
Right, look, look, right there in the map.
Since you're plugging, you're gonna just where it's
And then when you went on Google Earth, you didn't see the building, you didn't have the time to do that, right?
Like,
That's gonna have to do essentially with
Because
But
that's,
this is not new, this is not
then
new.
basically
I'm
use
thinking,
research to kind of like.
these are condos.
I agree, and that was while doing that. Yeah, but think about why, what justifies it, not just like, yeah, that's right, but like, find the why.
So that are the new.
Like the whole thing should be the why, you know?
Say,
That's
here's
it.
what's appropriate, here's
That's
why.
what we want.
And at the same time, I guess.
well, what we need to see is some of the information that you have to see the existing building, so we can use that.
We could just-
Well, I'm just seeing this from the urban side, you know, and I'm seeing which one's the better spot. And I'm just gonna make a whole bunch of that call.
Like if you just plug
And
in,
you're gonna call it CJ.
No, I'll justify the use of that from the
I'll fact check.
square footage and the use.
Oh.
I'll fact check it.
Yes, no, with the bigger or something.
I just use it as a word.
No, será como-
You have to look at that, just how are you gonna justify it if you don't make any questions?
I mean, yeah, as long as
We
you see
may
it
charge
like
more
that.
with the bigger spots.
I guess it does.
There's
But,
like 7 options there.
Mhm.
Some of them are smaller buildings than
Okay.
bigger square footage.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So models, which square footage is the best.
I'm fine.
So we have to then run the numbers.
So the
All right, then.
is on the big one.
Even if I don't like this one,
CPRE, lease.
You're gonna go with the one that looks the most, the more.
Houses.
But if you think about it, not that I'm an architect, but
No, I'm not talking about architecture. Think of this, okay, where's the scale? The drive to
no, but the difference between these and these is that they put in some coverage.
What draws you in?
No, I see the volumes are different,
Look
but
at this, it's a wall. The wall. I don't know that was my
well, the only scale is basically
This is the numbers gun.
the color.
Yeah, that's your department.
But no, we actually play with green, we play with bronze, we play with green, and we play with a big color.
Right.
This is what I'm talking about.
That doesn't have yeah.
Because it's not driving anybody in. You're looking at some.
No, I
It looks like something like this, and it's kind of plastic there.
but that's kind of the same concept.
I like this.
That something like that, it makes sense.
Because they rates,
On both sides.
On both
On both
sides.
sides.
Both sides. And then you will have exposure here, you will have exposure here. I mean, you can tell just by this. Look for that, the numbers are gonna make sense.
Is that a separate floor? Is that a separate floor? Is that? Okay.
You're not the big guy. I'm not the big guy.
Okay.
You see that is not that ugly.
No, but this is inside.
Yeah, that's
Or you can
So
turn it.
I just want to make sure you understand, just because they provide the money, you still got to validate it. It's not like it's all attitude, it's all, it's like, you can trust this stuff.
No.
Okay,
Totally
good,
understand
you
that.
got
Great.
it.
We don't got it, but we're trying to get it.
So what time are you coming?
What,
You guys are meeting, I thought,
yeah,
you're meeting at 6 to work?
6 years, but we're gonna breathe and then.
Yeah.
So by the time I get there, you guys will be ready to talk.
Make sure you
Okay.
make-
I'm just saying that I probably only have like,
To get one thing, like, all of everybody.
That's fine.
even if it's 24 hours.
Are we meeting at the same, not that long?
We will let you know.
Yeah.
What, how come you didn't like it?
This is for your kids.
And she wasn't even there. No, we're just saying it was so small, and you weren't even there. So we really can't
That
go
was
this
one
way.
night.
What I have, what I'm gonna wear tomorrow, hopefully it's not good. Okay.
Yeah, see.
Let me know where.
Okay.
Not all of them.